Okay, for number 12, we're just asking for the domain of the function. Remember, domain has to do with x's, okay? To simplify this, you cannot have anything underneath the radical that's negative. So that means that whatever's underneath the radical needs to be set greater than or equal to 0, and then solve. So x plus 6 greater than or equal to 0 would give you x must be greater than or equal to negative 6, and that's your domain. Okay, we're just trying to find what are the possibilities for x. For number 13, remember, we do not want anything in the denominator that's going to make it undefined. So you can have a 0 in the denominator, but no matter what you do, you're always going to have a 5. So this one, your domain is all reals. Okay, all real numbers. So it can be any number. You can plug in any number here, because you're always going to have a 5 in the denominator. So the
double R, is that the symbol for all real?
Yeah, if you write double R, that's okay as well. Okay, for number 14, if you're given that f of x equals 4x plus 3, find f of 3x plus 2. So just plug in 3x plus 2 in for x. So 4 multiplied by 3x plus 2 plus 3. Okay, distribute through, that gives you 12x plus 8. Plus another 3 gives you 12x plus 11 for an answer. So that's just an evaluate problem. For number 15, if you know f of x and g of x, I want to find f of g of x. Okay? If you go from the inside out, g of x is just equal to 3x plus 2. So I'm just going to replace g of x with 3x plus 2. Now you just need to find f of 3x plus 2. So plug this whole thing in for x. So 3x plus 2 squared plus 5. Remember, you cannot distribute that square. You have to write it out twice. And you have a binomial, 3x plus 2 and another 3x plus 2. Don't forget the plus 5. A lot of people will forget this plus 5, and you can't do that. Okay. FOIL these together, and that gives you 9x squared. Outsides is plus 6x. Insides is plus 6x. Last is plus 4 plus 5. Combine your like terms. 9x squared plus 12x plus 9. Do not factor that, by the way. Just leave it alone, okay? I'm not asking you to factor. It's a different unit. Okay, next one for number 16. Again, we're evaluating if f of x is equal to 2x plus 7, g of x equals 5 minus x squared. Find f of g of negative 3. So we're first going to plug into the g equation. So g of negative 3 equals 5 minus negative 3 squared. This negative does not count for the negative that goes with the 3. So be careful there. So that gives you 5 minus negative 3 squared is 9. That gives us a negative 4. So g of negative 3 is equal to negative 4. So I'm going to replace this with a negative 4. Now I need to find f of negative 4. So plug negative 4 into your f equation. 2 times negative 4 plus 7 gives us negative 8. Plus 7, negative 1 is our final answer. So you're just double plugging in, basically. For number 17, find f of x plus g of x. So we're just going to add these together. So x squared plus 3x plus 3 plus 2 times x minus 1 quantity squared. According to order of operations, you have to do what's inside the parentheses first and then the exponent. So this is actually going to be x minus 1 times x minus 1 times 2. Okay, so that 2 is still going to be there. So we still have x squared plus 3x plus 3 plus all of that. So if you bring these down, x squared plus 3x plus 3 plus 2 times, FOIL this together, that's x squared minus 1x minus 1x plus 1. Then distribute x squared plus 3x plus 3 plus 2x squared minus 2x minus 2x plus 2. You combine all those like terms. Put together your squares, gives us 3x squared. Together all your x's, 3x minus 2x gives us minus 1x. If you don't write the 1, that's fine. And then finally 3 plus 2 is plus 5. So 3x squared minus 1x plus 5. For number 18, this is asking you to find the inverse, okay? It doesn't say the word inverse, but remember, this is inverse notation. So to find the inverse of something, we have to know it is a function. Is this a function to begin with? Yes. Okay, there's not a constant, so it's not just x or y equals a whole number, and there's no x squared, so we can go on with this. So here, we want to find the inverse, so replace this with y equals 2x minus 1 over 7. Switch your x and y. X equals 2y minus 1 over 7, and then solve for y. So to solve for y, we're going to cross multiply. Remember, there's an invisible 1 there. If you cross multiply, we get 2y minus 1 equals 7x. Add 1 to both sides. Leaves us with 2y equals 7x plus 1. And then divide everything by 2. And we should get y equals 7x plus 1 over 2. Now, if you split this up, if you could reduce, you would need to split it up. But here we know that nothing is going to reduce, so you don't have to split it up. Also, do not leave this as y equals. You have to rewrite it in inverse form. So f to the negative 1 of x equals 7x plus 1 over 2. I know that's picky, but it's correct. Okay, it needs to be correct. Yes, Dylan?
So is cross multiplying the same as just multiplying by 7 underneath?
Cross multiplying is the same thing as multiplying by the reciprocal, and the reciprocal would just be multiplying by 7.
Or 7
So
over
yes.
2, or 7 over 2 minus
Well, it's not 7 over 2.
y minus 1.
No, I don't want to get rid of that. I just want to get rid of the 7.
Okay.
Just want to eliminate the denominator at the same time. Okay, number 19, same thing. I want to find the inverse function. So start by replacing with y. Y equals 4x minus 1. Switch your x and your y. X equals 4y minus 1. Add 1 to both sides. So x plus 1 equals 4y. And divide by 4. X plus 1 over 4 equals y. Write it in in inverse notation. So f to the negative 1x equals x plus 1 over 4. That one was actually a lot simpler than the one before it. Okay, find the inverse. Is there an inverse of something cubed? Yes. Okay, a cube looks like this as a picture. Is that a function to begin with? Yes. So its inverse would look something like this, and that's okay. Okay, it's fine to have an inverse of that. Can't be something squared. Squared terms do not have an inverse, but cubes do. So here, switch this to be y equals negative 125 over 8 x cubed. Switch x and y. X equals negative 125, over 8 y cubed. Okay, now, you can do one of two things. You could get rid of the y cube, you could cube root both sides now. Or you could get rid of the fraction. To get rid of the fraction, you multiply by the reciprocal. So reciprocal is 8 over 125. It is also negative because there's a negative there. Okay, reciprocals do not change signs, so it's still negative. So if you rewrite this, we get negative 8x over 125 equals y cubed. You can take the cube root of that. And when you take the cube root, you have to take both the top and the bottom. Remember, this x belongs with the 8 on the top. Okay, so it might be better to rewrite that way. Okay, cube root of negative 8 is what? Negative 2. You still have cube root of x over, what's the cube root of 125? 5 equals, and instead of writing y, I want you to write it in inverse form, so f negative 1 of x. Okay, so the negative does come out, the x does not, and be very, very careful to keep your handle number there. Okay, don't want you to lose that handle number. I see confusion. What's, no? Okay, try another one. Number 21. Simplify assuming all variables are positive. Okay, we have to rationalize the denominator here. So you can't have a radical in the denominator. You have 1, 2. I need a total of 3 of them. So I'm going to have to multiply by 2 more. So multiply by another cube root, 2 2's. Multiply cube root, 2 2's. Okay, and that's just going to become 5x cube root of 4 over 2. That's it. Okay, the 4 and the 2 cannot reduce because one's a whole number and one is a radical still. Solve for x. Start by moving this 1. So if we add 1 to both sides, that leaves us with 3 multiplied by cube root of x plus 2 equals 9. Divide both sides by 3. That'll give you root x plus 2 equals 3. To get rid of a radical, square both sides. When you square both sides, these are going to eliminate. You've got x plus 2 equals 9. Subtracts 2 from both sides. And you should get an answer of x equals 7. X equals 7.